Welcome to the Week 2 Go-To session. This is the second of 4 such sessions that we'll be holding this month. Thanks to all that are in attendance. Hello to those people who are watching this after the fact. I'm going to try to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to jump right into this week's major assignment. And I'm going to show you what to do. And then we'll get to the keynote slides, which will pretty much reinforce, I think, what I've gone over specifically with this week's activity. Just some quick comments. I am still grading those brainstorming worksheets that you handed in Sunday night. We instructors aim for a 72-hour turnaround time, so that would mean tomorrow night at midnight. But I am already diving in and grading some of them, okay? So keep your eyes open. But do understand that I usually need all those 72 hours to grade 2 classes worth of brainstorming worksheets. Let's see, anything else? I don't think so. You all should have gotten grades back on the week 1 McGraw-Hill modules, also the weekly journal entries. I think the only piece of advice I'd give is to make sure that you pay attention to the highlighted part of the instructions. They should be highlighted in yellow. So sure, treat them as a journal response, write whatever you wish, but I need to come away with a strong sense that the readings have been completed, all of them, and also that the lecture was viewed, okay? Obviously, there are a bunch of you in attendance tonight, but I mean, I may or may not remember that you actually attended. But obviously, that's kind of my big thing. The majority of people watch these recordings after the fact, and I need to come away with a strong sense that they watched the lecture because, as I noted to several people, yeah, people attend lectures, tend to do just fine on assignments, okay? It's when people do not either attend or watch lectures that problems can happen. Because as you've probably guessed, those of you who were in attendance last week, that probably helped, right? We looked through several ads, the Jeep ad, a MG convertible ad from the early 1970s, a Diet Coke ad, and that should have given you a strong sense of what we're aiming for this month, because we are building step by step toward an ad analysis assignment. And yeah, if you don't watch, you're probably a little bit clueless about what ad analysis is, what you should be looking for in an ad. So yeah, just a thanks to those people who are here tonight. Okay, so this week's major activity, we can see we've already done week 1. Week 2 is much the same. So there's another weekly journal response, another achieve module. The major activity here is the 2.5, the organizing assignment. And your task this week is to create an outline. But here's the good news. You all know what outlines are, right? They usually look like this. They use a mixture of Roman numerals, like Roman numeral 1. Each Roman numeral represents a separate paragraph. Right? So we are aiming for a 5-paragraph essay in this class. And so paragraph 1 would be your introduction. This would be body paragraph number 1. Right? And then you have subpoints. So for example, point 1 that you plan to make, etc. But here's the good news. You don't have to do any of this. Okay? So I'm going to delete all that because you don't have to create an outline from scratch. Can other people hear me? Sean is saying that he cannot. I see my levels moving. And some people seem to be responding. So Sean, let me type a quick message to Sean. Sean, you might have to leave the room and re-enter if you cannot hear, that is. Or check your audio settings. Okay? But it seems like everybody else can hear me, so I'll keep charging forward. Yeah, you don't have to build the outline from scratch. That's good, because in the past we kind of did, but then some students were very comfortable creating outlines, others were not. The great thing is we've created the outline template for you. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so again, I'm going to do things a little bit backwards. We're going to walk through the assignments, then we'll look at big picture slides. Okay, so what I have open is, this is a completed outline, and I'm going to go back and forth between the blank outline and the completed outline. Keep in mind, actually, let me go into the activity real quickly. Remember, for every assignment, you always have completed examples. So for week 1, you had a past student's worksheet that she completed for the Diet Coke ad that we looked at in week 1. For this week, you have 2 samples to look at. You can read through all these instructions on your own. But here, outline template, use this to complete the assignment. So I already have this open. This is the blank template. Excuse me. You have a completed outline. So this is my Jeep example. Remember, we looked at the Jeep ad in week 1. So you have a completed outline. And you should, at least I thought there was a second example. Did I? Oh, here it is, right above. Okay. Click this link to view an example. So if you click it, okay, again, Diet Coke example. And this is annotated, so it shows you kind of what it should look like. I don't make a big deal about, and actually I should take this down because they've changed the template slightly. I don't like the new version, so I have I'm still using the older version of the template because I like it a lot more. But still, this does look like a decent example of what you'll still be working toward. So the example is still perfectly fine. Here's the blank template. Okay. Oops, right here. One thing I have to caution, okay, it's not something I see too often, but it probably happens with maybe a handful of students every month, is you just completed a worksheet, right? You hand it in Sunday night. I'm still working to get you feedback because you need feedback. Yeah, I mean, all those 10 prompts that were on that brainstorming worksheet are important. But for me, probably the most important prompt is that one that asks you to come up with thesis statements. Okay. I have to look at the thesis statement and say, yeah, this looks great, or this needs work. Or you have so many great ideas earlier in the worksheet, why aren't those your thesis points? Okay. But once we get you on the path towards a solid thesis, then you can start creating your outline. Because without a solid thesis, as you'll see when I explain the outline assignment, you're kind of, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to use improper language. You're sort of up the creek. So I am going to work as hard as I can to get you, yes, feedback by Wednesday at midnight. So at the very least, you'll have 4 full days to work on the outline. But notice, it begins with Roman numeral 1. Oh, I forgot. I was starting to say the issue I see with maybe a handful of students or more is because you just completed a worksheet for week 1, and this is also a template that looks like a worksheet. Some students think, oh, it's another worksheet. I'm just going to fill these things out in isolated style. Okay, so here's something to answer, here's something to answer, here's more stuff to answer. But no, this is not a worksheet. Okay, this is not a brainstorming worksheet. These are not isolated prompts that you're supposed to look at one by one. You all know what an outline is, right? Like in theory, what an outline seeks to do. An outline is quite literally a blueprint for your essay. It is a paragraph by paragraph plan for what your essay is going to look like. And yes, because students sometimes get confused about the Roman numerals and the lettering, I have to admit I'm not a big outliner myself, so we've created the outline for you. But yeah, don't be confused. This is a paragraph by paragraph plan for your essay. So when it says Roman numeral 1, introduction, this means we are building your introduction paragraph. Okay? And we're asking for 3 things that will ultimately go in your introduction. A 1-sentence hook, enticing your audience to read more. Okay? So if the word hook sounds maybe confusing, think of it as a 1-sentence preview. Just give me an idea of how your essay will begin, what the opening sentence might be. Okay? That's it. How you think your essay will begin. 1 sentence. You'll probably almost certainly need to develop it beyond 1 sentence. For example, here's the completed version. This is for the Jeep essay. So here's my 1-sentence beginning. Jeep, the well-known the well-known brand, practically markets itself with its reputation for ruggedness, independence, and adventure. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you don't like that opening sentence. I do. I think that works pretty well as an opening sentence. But notice I have the completed essay open as well. Let me find that real quickly. This is a little bit confusing. I have so many things open. 1, 2. I do have a third. No, that's the blank version. Here, let me open up the full Jeep essay. Okay. You'll have this next week because next week's main assignment is to write an essay draft, to take your outline. And of course, next week you'll get feedback on your outline. And based on my feedback, then you move forward and turn that information into the paper. But as you can see, here's my opening. Right? Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself blah, blah, blah. Now, I build upon this. I have more things to say. I kind of riff on this idea of Jeep being a well-known brand that's known for ruggedness, independence, and adventure. I find a nifty quote here about how popular Jeep is, most copied brand of American vehicles. I talk a bit more about that Jeep, that image we have of Jeep, right? The Jeep spirit. So the Jeep spirit and the loyalty this motor car inspires is hardwired into our cultural consciousness. One can easily picture a driver behind the wheel of a Jeep, downshifting around a snaking bend, kicking up dust through the sun-baked Australian outback, etc. Then it transitions into what I ask for next in the outline. So let me go back to the blank outline template. Okay, next, a concise description of the ad. Just 2 or 3 sentences. So this is different than the worksheet. Remember, it asked for a detailed summary explaining to the ad to someone who has never seen it before, with special attention paid to important details in the ad. That's not this, okay? Actually, the introduction is a general paragraph. It's setting the table for the rest of the essay. So this is not the place to get into your 3 individual things that you noticed in the ad, okay? This is quite literally just a concise description, just a couple sentences, which is what I do here. Now, if you go beyond, you want to write 4 sentences like I've done here, that's fine, okay? Why do this? Because again, your audience is the general reader. It's that person off the street. Or imagine that your ad analysis, you publish it online, okay? Or you publish it as part of your personal blog. The person who stumbles upon it probably isn't going to be an expert. Maybe they've never seen the ad before. And so you're just going to write a couple sentences that, explains the gist. Okay, so Jeep's See Whatever You Want to See ad is a print poster. It contains a reversible image. I describe that reversible image. Okay, the word Jeep, along with the ad's tagline, appears above and below the image. Blah, blah, blah. And if we look at the actual essay, that's what I transition into here. Same information. Just a quick, concise summary of the ad to bring the general reader up to speed. Finally, the template asks for your 1-sentence thesis statement. Okay, so this is your introduction paragraph. Some sort of opening move, just a short description of the ad so people know what it's about. So if you've chosen Call of Duty, you might say Call of Duty is it's a television commercial that features everyday people waging battle and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not going to go on further because you should come up with that description yourself. And then finally, your thesis statement. As you can see, my introduction paragraph here ends with my thesis, right? Where you identify your 3 analysis points. In this case, it's color, imagery, tagline. In the Diet Coke example, okay, same thing. Here's her hook. Here's her summary. Here's her thesis. The Diet Coke ad, Tall, Dark, and Handsome, appeals to a sophisticated, heteronormative, feminine audience. Fancy terms for basically everyday heterosexual women. By using seductive language, that's thesis point number 1, language. Nostalgia-inducing funk music, okay, so music, number 2. And slow pan minimalist cinematography. Fancy word language for that camera work. Remember how the camera pans up the Diet Coke glass like it's a person's body in order to associate the product with the idea of a romantic treat. Okay, so this is what you need to do as well. And that's your introduction. We are building paragraph by paragraph. Does this all make sense so far? We're all with me? Then the rest of the outline is pretty much almost self-explanatory. So you move into Roman numeral 2. So this is going to be your essay's second body paragraph. Those 3 body paragraphs, so Roman numerals 2, 3, and 4, those are going to be your 3 middle paragraphs. This is where the analysis actually occurs, not in the introduction. The introduction is all set up. Opening move, brief description of the ad, thesis. Then you start discussing your thesis points one at a time. So first it asks for a topic sentence. Your topic sentence goes right here, by the way, okay, right after the colon. Then you make 1 main point you plan to make in support of that topic sentence. That's what it's asking for here. Sentence describing a detail from the ad that is part of the rhetorical strategy. That's just fancy language for make 1 major point, then make a second major point. Then it asks for research. We're going to talk about research a bit later, okay? And then finally, just explain to me why this research is relevant or important. This is a little bit confusing, and I should go and add a little detail here. This actually isn't going to appear in your essay, so in that sense, it's a bit confusing because you think of an outline as a blueprint for your essay, but this is really more for me and you, just so you understand that your research is fitting and relevant. Okay, and then you repeat. Next paragraph. What is your next topic sentence? This should be thesis point number 2. One main point you plan to make in support of that. A second main point you plan to make. Relevant research. Then same thing for body paragraph number 3, Roman numeral number 4. This should be your third thesis point. Write a topic sentence. One main point you plan to make. A second main point you plan to make. Research. Can you see what we're doing here? If you have all these pieces in place, then quite literally, you have the structure for your essay. You have the skeleton. True, you still need to go and hang flesh on that skeleton, but you have the basic pieces in place. So let's look at the completed version. Where is it? Here's my thesis, okay? Right? And here are my 3 thesis points. Let me highlight that so you can see it more clearly, right? Color, imagery, tagline. So body paragraph number 1, topic sentence, first thesis point. First thesis point is color. So here's my topic sentence. The ad is an exercise in simplicity, especially in its use of color. One main point I plan to make. Okay. A second main point I plan to make. Relevant research that I found. So I found a couple of nifty quotes about how earth tones are usually reserved for backgrounds. That's relevant because in the Jeep ad, that beige mesh background is certainly, well, it's a background. And that such colors such as neutrals, browns, are the epitome of nature. That's also relevant because Jeep, again, is connected to off-roading and it's a vehicle you would hop in if you want to go discover nature, right? More than a Lexus or a Toyota or a Honda. And then, well, okay, I explain why this research is relevant. Okay, and then I move on to the next body paragraph and my second thesis point. Remember, my second thesis point is the ad's use of imagery, those reversible animal images. So here's my topic sentence. Jeep's image is reinforced through the ad's main conceit. That's just a fancy word for trick or strategy or technique, which is its playful use of imagery. I make one main point in support of the ad's imagery. I make a second main point. And notice, we're talking about a single sentence or two. You should not be writing entire paragraphs. This is not the draft of your essay. In fact, I don't want to read long paragraphs. I just want to see your main points. That's what an outline is. It's not the full essay. It's just your main points. It's sort of like notes you're taking for yourself. That's what an outline usually is. You scribble down just your ideas in the order in which they're going to appear. Same thing here, okay? And I found relevant research, a nifty quote. When rotated, each of the vintage drawn animals becomes another species, leaving the viewer to choose which one he or she prefers, playing on their perceptions. That's a nice quote. And then my final body paragraph. Topic sentence, right? The topic sentence is like a thesis statement for that paragraph. Just as the thesis defines or sets the table for the entire essay, the topic sentence does so for that paragraph. So the reader understands from the topic sentence, oh, this paragraph is going to be about the ad's tagline, okay, which is my third thesis point. The ad's use of a double meaning tagline that reinforces the theme. Okay, I make one main point, a second main point, find some relevant research, and so on. Finally, Roman numeral 5 is your conclusion paragraph. The conclusion is sort of like the mirror, I don't want to say mirror opposite because it's not a complete opposite. It's kind of like an echoing of the introduction, though it does work kind of in reverse. You will rephrase your thesis statement, so you're not going to use the exact same wording as your thesis as it appeared in the introduction, but you are going to echo it, which is what I do here. And then a couple sentences that anticipate how you think you'll close things out. And again, if we look at the finished version, okay, so the full Jeep essay. Again, you'll have this essay in full. You'll also have an essay on that Diet Coke ad from a past student. Okay, so here's the introduction. My opening move. Again, you only need to give me a one-sentence preview. You'll develop it more when you actually write your essay. A brief, concise description of the ad. And your thesis. Okay, which of course lists your 3 thesis points. And then here are my 3 body paragraphs. So topic sentence connects to the first thesis point. So this paragraph is entirely about color. The ad's use of color. Here's another paragraph about the ad's use of imagery. And a third paragraph about the ad's tagline. Here's my conclusion. Okay. Here's my restatement of the thesis statement. And again, you'll have this full essay, including, and also in addition, the Diet Coke essay in week 3. But this week you have the outlines for the Jeep essay and the Diet Coke essay. Now, you will need a references page. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, okay? The outline does have to follow APA format, which I know is probably brand new to a lot of you. We'll discuss that in a moment. But for now, do we have any questions? Is everybody here who's present pretty clear on what you need to do for this outline assignment? I know it's a little bit tedious for me to walk through it so carefully, but it's because I don't want anybody to be confused. I don't want anybody to think that this is a worksheet that needs to be filled out randomly, okay? Or thinking that these are individual prompts that could be answered in isolation. Think big picture, okay? The outline template is a paragraph by paragraph walkthrough of the 5 paragraphs that will appear in your essay. Let's see, I'm not getting much confirmation. Are people clear? Do people feel confident? Can I move on? Am I losing a lot of you? A nice yes would be awesome in the chat. Okay, thank you, people. Honestly, I thought maybe my audio had cut out or something because someone had audio problems earlier. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to cruise through a lot of these lecture slides because they kind of repeat what I've just gone over. Okay, but for reinforcement, let's go through them. Yes, welcome to week 2. Yeah, we're moving step by step. So week 1 is brainstorming. Okay, remember this image. Okay, so week 1 we were here. Week 2 we're here. Okay, you're organizing your material. That's what the outline is. And yes, you're going to begin researching. So we're going to spend more time in the second half talking about research because you do need 3 sources. And I'm going to point out that one of the sources has been provided for you if you wish to use it. Let me talk about this a bit. I've already mentioned it kind of in passing. Your intended audience is the general reader. Okay, and actually, let me make a caution. Hold on, I need to get away from this for a second. Okay, I have a blank Microsoft Word document open somewhere. No, that's the blank. Hold on, bear with me. Here it is. Okay, for the outline, and even next week when you actually start writing the essay draft, I see lots of this. People begin with statements like, in this ad, the guy is nervous, on his first day of work. Okay? Like in the concise description, the 2 or 3 sentences in the outline, or even next week when I read an essay draft, sometimes this is the first sentence in this ad. And then I have to be the mean instructor and say, what ad? What guy? What are you talking about? I know that the student is talking about the McDonald's ad, but the general reader wouldn't. So be careful, okay? Always step outside of yourself. Put yourself in the general reader's shoes. And by the way, this is a principle of good writing in general, that writing should be accessible to the general reader. Even think of like an article that's published in a physics journal. I might not be a physics expert. I might not understand the math, but I would understand the overall structure of the article. It would be readable to me, completely readable. just not the math stuff. What I mean is that you kind of have to hold the reader's hands. No, you don't have to explain things like McDonald's is a fast food restaurant. Your readers aren't stupid. But basics like in the McDonald's ad, first day, a young millennial, Andy, is anxious on his first day of work. Okay? Can all of you notice the difference between these two sentences? That this one is vague, right? This one is too much in the writer's head. The writer is thinking, oh, well, I know I'm talking about the McDonald's ad. David is my teacher. He knows I'm talking about the McDonald's ad. I don't need to explain anything. But this one is much stronger. Okay? This one is aware of the general reader. This one is not. And just because the essay might be titled McDonald's Ad Analysis, not the greatest title, by the way, but still, that doesn't, your sentences have to stand on their own. Okay, you can't point to the title and say, well, but the title tells you. No. Try to avoid sentences like this, okay? Because I do see that a lot in this ad. What ad? Okay, let me get back to where is it? My lecture. Okay, so your audience is the general reader. What is an essay? Okay, we know. By the way, an essay can technically be anything. Like a YouTube video could be an essay, short film. But for this class, we mean essay in the more traditional sense. A short piece of nonfiction writing on a particular subject. It is short. We're talking, well, we don't give page length requirements, but it should be between 700 and 1,400 words. I think my Jeep essay, when I only look at the text of the actual essay, so I'm not counting the references page or the cover page, I think it's in the low 800s, like 830 words. I'd say it's about 3 full pages. I'd say most essays clock in at about that length. Maybe 3 pages, maybe a touch shorter, 2 3/4, maybe a touch longer, 3.5. I never see 1,400 word essays. 1,400 words would be, oh gosh, like 6 pages, 7 pages. Usually somewhere between 2.5 to 4 pages is the norm. And no, that's not terribly long. It seems long to you, perhaps, but it really isn't. And because we're aiming for a 5-paragraph essay, that's why it's important that your thesis has those 3 analysis points, those 3 key things you've identified in your chosen ad, because it sets up the structure for the entire paper, which is what we're going to reinforce right now, even though we did go over it when I walked through the outline. There's your introduction paragraph. There will be your 3 middle paragraphs. These are the support paragraphs. Okay, this is where your analysis occurs. I should not be seeing any analysis in the introduction. The introduction is not the place to start discussing why the Call of Duty ad uses the song Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones. No, that gets saved for the middle paragraphs. And then, of course, you have a conclusion. Okay, so introduction, middle, body, support, conclusion. And here's just, again, I'll fly through this, okay? Because I talked about this during the walkthrough of the blank outline and the completed outlines, but your introduction paragraph stays general. It sets the stage for the rest of your essay. It ends with your thesis statement. Then comes the body. These are your 3 body paragraphs, right? Where you discuss your 3 thesis points one at a time. This is where you develop your ideas, okay? And where you draw conclusions and use research. Yes, 1 thesis supporting idea per paragraph. Okay, so if your 3 thesis points for the Call of Duty ad are, I don't know, its use of music, its diverse cast, right? It uses a cast of everyday looking people from a variety of backgrounds, both genders. So, okay, the ads use of music, the ads, let's say, diverse cast, and then something else. The ads over the top style. Okay, it's flamboyant, almost action movie style. Okay, then those would be your 3 body paragraphs. 1 about music, 1 about its cast, 1 about its style. And then you have your conclusion paragraph, okay, where you echo your thesis. And it says, set readers down gently. Yeah, that's fine. I often like to describe it as finding the right final note on which to end your essay. Okay, so a few closing lines that just naturally bring the essay to an end. That's what your conclusion seeks to do. I'm going to fly past this because in week 1 we talked about thesis statements. Hopefully you all understand what thesis statements are. The worksheet that you just handed in Sunday even included both the sample thesis statements that we looked at in week 1. They were right there on the worksheet to help you remember what thesis statements look like and aim to do. And we talked about this as well when I did the walkthrough. Okay, so your paragraphs, your body paragraphs, that is, begin with a topic sentence. This is like the thesis statement for that paragraph. Okay, and then yes, after you establish that with your topic sentence, this is where you explain things, define things. This is where you offer specific evidence. And link, this is kind of like a censure statement. And I know this is all a bit tedious, but let me real quickly, where's my Jeep essay? Here it is. So everything on that slide is just fancy speak for, okay, so here in the Jeep essay, my computer's going crazy again. I have too many things open. Actually, let me go here. Okay, so this is the paragraph on the ad's use of imagery. Bear with me. My computer is slowed to a stall. I think I have way too many things open. Okay, so here's paragraph on imagery. Probably what all of you are going to do is follow a similar pattern, which is, okay, here's your topic sentence, right? It establishes what this paragraph's about. You'll describe the issue, define it, okay? Because remember, the general reader isn't super aware. So I spend some time explaining that the ad consists largely of empty space, but that through the use of lighting, it guides the viewer's eye to the centerpiece, which is a reversible image. I describe what that reversible image is. That looked in one way, the ad looks like a giraffe. Look at another way, it looks like a penguin. Then I transition into, explaining, right? So I've already explained things. I brought the reader up to speed. Then I explain that the advertisement's use of optical illusion, the reversible image, is powerful because this strategy would not work if it were applied to, say, a Ford or a Lexus ad. Then I include my research. Okay, the ad encourages viewer interaction for, quote, when rotated, each of the vintage drawn animals becomes another species, leaving the viewer to choose which one he or she prefers, playing on their perceptions, end quote. Perception is important since the ad wants to create a positive perception of Jeep. The animal imagery is effective here because it connects strongly to Jeep's overall brand. And here's my kind of censure line, okay, tying everything together. Only such a versatile automobile as Jeep, the ad seems to suggest, could take one on a journey into the heart of the African plain or to the rocky tip of Tierra del Fuego to see giraffes and penguins up close. Okay, so you're going to be doing something probably similar in your paragraphs. Establish a topic in your opening sentence. Describe what's going on in the ad. And then, analyze and reach your conclusions. Finding a place to fold in relevant research. That's why the outline template is set up so that for each body paragraph, topic sentence, one main point you plan to make, second main point you plan to make, relevant research, move on to the next paragraph. Because if you have all those pieces in place, then again, it's just a matter of building those paragraphs, okay? Let me get back to the lecture. So again, just what we've gone over. Oh, do use the sample outlines as much as you like, but please don't borrow wording, okay? So my Jeep essay begins with what? Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself with its reputation for ruggedness, independence, and adventure, or something like that. Do not write a sentence that says, Call of Duty, the well-known video game, practically sells itself instead of markets itself with its well-known blah, blah, blah. Okay, come up with your own. Or one of my topic sentences says the ad is an exercise in simplicity, especially in its use of color. Do not write a topic sentence that says the ad's use of music is, okay, again, don't mimic the exact wording, okay? Come up with your own wording. Research. You need 3 sources. One source has been provided for you. You might have noticed that every activity comes with a link for that video by Matt Rosano called Pathos, Logos, and Ethos in Advertising. Have you all noticed that video or the link for it? If I go to, here it is. Okay, so for the outline assignments, oh, is this something new? Why does it say 2 sources have been provided for you? Oh, the ad itself. Yeah, I'm forgetting about that. Okay, so, but technically 1 source has been provided for you. Um, yeah, the ad itself does not count as one of the 3. You need 2 more sources on top of the ad itself and this video. You don't have to use this video, okay? I don't use it in my Jeep essay, but you can use this as one of your sources, and then you just have to find 2 more. So that's pretty easy. But let me give one warning right now. If you use this video, please, please, please do something more interesting with it than simply tell me that pathos is the appeal to emotion, or that logos is the appeal to logic. I already know that. You could have told me that without watching this video. Okay? Basic definitions of words is not research. Even if you didn't know what the word pathos meant and had to look it up, still, you would not have to cite it. Okay? Again, basic definitions is not research. Plus, there is more interesting information in this video that you can, if you find something relevant in there that relates to one of your topics, sure, quote something from it or paraphrase an idea from it and then give credit. But yeah, don't just give me basic definitions of words. I say that because even though I mentioned in the lecture, there will be, again, 5 students who do exactly that. Tell me that pathos is the appeal to emotion, and then quote Matt Rosano, who is the author of this video. But then you still have to find 2 more sources. One source should come from the Full Sail Library database, so let's go there. Okay, so you go to Full Sail Connect, you sign in, and once you're on Full Sail Connect's main page, if you scroll down, on the left here, you'll see the link for the library, so you click on that. Then you scroll down and click on Research Databases. Now, you have a whole bunch of sources. A number of them are actually part of EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost is not a specific source. Rather, it's a huge database that includes smaller databases like Academic Search Complete, Business Source Complete, Communication and Mass Media Complete. We also have the database that was formerly known as LexisNexis. It's now called Nexus Uni. In general, Nexus Uni tends to search more kind of everyday, like newspapers, whereas EBSCOhost, it might search those things as well, but it tends to focus more on journals. EBSCOhost probably is where you should begin, but don't rule out Nexus Uni as well. I'm going to go into EBSCOhost to show how it works. I just recommend selecting all, search all these databases at once, click continue, and you're in the database. Now, let me just say, I already know how to trigger a specific article. The research will take you quite a bit longer. Where's my Jeep essay again? My finished Jeep essay has 6 sources. Okay, again, you only need 3. Mine has 6. And notice I didn't use the Rose and O video on pathos, egos, lothos, or whatever order it's in. I think I mixed up some words there. Pathos, ethos, logos, and advertising. I just found 6 other sources that I liked. Again, you only need 3, and you can use that video if you like as one of your 3 sources. Yes, the ad itself should be listed. I don't have mine listed here. That's a mistake on my part. But notice, 6 sources. It took me hours to find these 6 sources. As a matter of fact, when I decided that I was going to complete all the assignments I asked my students to complete, so I created an outline, I created an essay. Basically, I did the ad analysis assignment. Yeah, I was a little bit confident. I thought, I'm going to bang this out because I just found the Jeep ad online. I didn't even look very long for ads. As soon as I saw the Jeep ad, I was like, yeah, that looks good. I'll write about that. And yeah, I'm the instructor, so I thought this is going to be a breeze. Sure, I'll have to proofread and stuff like that, but I could probably bang this out in a couple hours because, after all, I feel pretty confident what I want to say about the ad. No, it took me, I don't even know how many hours. I do tend to procrastinate. That's not a skill that I'm proud but I'm guessing that there might be others here who tend to do things at the last moment. So yeah, I think I spent like a marathon weekend. It probably took me, the writing of it, probably about 12 hours. The research, finding these 6 sources, probably 4 to 6 hours, because it's not a matter of just finding something to stick in, right? A quote, a paraphrase. No, I had to find relevant research. I had to find articles, websites on color theory, but then I had to actually read through it, right? Because if it's not filled with any information that's relevant to my ad, I can't use it. So yeah, it's going to take time. So I'm going to automatically trigger through my keywords a specific article, but it's not going to be this easy for you. So Call of Duty. And all of you people who are writing about Call of Duty, yeah, I feel kind of guilty because you're sort of getting a bonus because I talk about it so much. So Call of Duty and Gimme Shelter, because that's the name of the song that's used in the ad. Then do a search. So yeah, I'm already looking for this article here. It's called Gimme Sales by Ann Donahue of Billboard Magazine. You'll either have a PDF version of the article, which reproduces exactly how it looks, the exact page layout, or you'll get an HTML file. Obviously, you have to read or at least skim the article to see if it's useful. This is quite a short article, and a lot of it doesn't seem terribly relevant because nowhere in this article is it speaking about why the ad's creators chose the Rolling Stones song Gimme Shelter, right? I mean, if you're going to discuss the ad's use of music, ultimately analysis tries to answer the question why, right? Why this color? Why this song? Why this? Why that? Why does the Diet Coke ad use this kind of camera work? Why does the Diet Coke ad use that funky music? Why does the Diet Coke ad use this specific language, tall, dark, and handsome? Answering those why questions leads to analysis. This article doesn't really answer that question, why Gimme Shelter? However, maybe as a secondary piece of research, some of this information is useful. It basically says that the vice president of music affairs for Activision, went to some lengths to get this song. Flew to New York, met with the rights holders, even showed an early edit of the ad to the band members themselves, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, right, the Rolling Stones, to get their approval. So you could make the argument that, okay, this isn't direct evidence, but it's tangentially maybe important because it sure points out that they wanted this song. Because sometimes students say, oh, this song is terrific because it's upbeat, it's energetic, it's well known. And then I have to be the mean instructor and say, yeah, but lots of songs could have been used if all that was required was an upbeat song, right? Or a well-known song or a classic song. But why did they want this song? And here this is evidence that they really wanted this song. Why? It doesn't answer that question, but maybe there is something interesting here as a secondary piece of evidence. I'm not going to go back to my Jeep essay, but in the paragraph on color, I actually have 2 quotations from 2 different websites on color theory. So yeah, maybe this could be a secondary piece of information. Okay, so maybe there's something useful here I could use. So for your outline, remember, the blank template asks for research for each of your body paragraphs. Okay, so you present a topic sentence, 1 main point you plan to make, a second main point you plan to make, and then research a quotation, including APA citation. And then at the very end of the document, you need to put your references. Here's the thing, for the outline assignments, I do care that you're following APA format, but I want it to be mostly heading in the right direction. Next week, because next week's lecture, get ready for it. Next week's lecture is going to be completely devoted to APA, which on the one hand is awesome because I think, yeah, it might be the most useful lecture in some ways because I will open up a blank Microsoft Word document and show you how to make the essay look like this, okay? In terms of spacing, in terms of creating what's called the header, in terms of creating the cover page, okay? I'm going to walk you step by step. I will also create in-text citations in real time, and I will create references in real time. But because that's next week's lecture, not this week's, yeah, I'm not going to nitpick if you get small details wrong, but I do want you to try your best to follow APA. If I get a strong sense that, yes, this person is trying his or her best to follow APA, I probably won't take off more than a point or two or something, maybe no points at all. I will take off points, though, if you're clearly just inventing a style system of your own. So I look at the references and it looks nothing like APA format. Now, for this week, what can I do to point you in the right direction? This website. I'm going to type it into the chat, okay? It's called Project APA. Oops. Project APA.info. I think I complained in a previous lecture. I do not like this new keyboard on this new Mac I have. It's so shallow and so sensitive that I just can't type clearly. Click on this link if you can, okay? The one I just put in the chat. And bookmark it if you like. For those watching at home, projectapa.info. Okay, right here, projectapa.info. Type it into your browser, bookmark it. Because here's my advice. For in-text citations, okay, so these, an in-text citation is literally, it's not this stuff. This is the references page. In-text citations is stuff like this. Okay, or this. This is what's being asked for in the blank version of the template when it says sentence incorporating research quotes, include APA citation. Okay, so they're asking for something like this. A sentence, okay, the ad encourages viewer interaction. For quote, okay, so something that leads into the quote, and then the APA citation. If you go to projectapa.info and click on in-text citations, just the very first guy here, formats of quotation. Imitate, okay, you have examples. And next week, I'm going to get into the weeds. Right now, because here's what the thing. It's a little bit, it's not that confusing. APA seems like it's this jumble of random rules that you don't quite know why you're following them. It's actually very, very simple. But yes, you have to understand its base, okay? You have to understand sort of the groundwork, the foundation of APA. Then all this makes sense. But for now, yeah, it seems a little bit confusing. Because, for example, you always have two options for handling a quotation. You can mention the author's name in your actual sentence, okay, according to Newman. Or if you could put the whole name, according to John Newman. If you do mention the author's name in your sentence, it's just a rule. The year in parentheses has to automatically appear right then and there. As soon as the author's name appears, boom, year in parentheses. Then you deliver your quotation. At the end of the quotation, you put a page or paragraph number. Now, why do I say page or paragraph number? Because if you find an online source where you just keep scrolling down to read the article, there won't be page numbers. So you count the paragraphs. Okay, so in this article here, it's one page. So if I wanted to quote something from here, it would be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, paragraph 5. Okay, or you don't have to mention the author's name in your own sentence. You can just find your own natural way to lead into the quotation. If you do that, you just save everything for the end. Author's last name, comma, year of publication, comma, page or paragraph number. So let's look at this example. Here I've chosen not to mention the author's name, Radich. Okay, and we'll get into this next week, but you'll be able to feel on a gut level whether you should mention the author's name or not. Okay, how important is it to mention the author's name? Sure, I could have said something like, according to, I don't remember the guy's name. Let's say Kevin Radich. But if his name appears, I immediately have to put the year in parentheses. So according to Kevin Radich, 2013, the ad encourages viewer interaction for, quote, when rotated, blah, blah, blah. But if I choose that option, at the end, I just have to put a page or paragraph number. Here, because it's a document that doesn't have page numbers, I put what paragraph it appears in. And the abbreviation is para, P-A-R-A, lowercase, period. If it's a page number, it's lowercase p, period. Okay, so, of course, if I don't use the author's name, in the original, I didn't, I just have to reset it to the way it was. The ad encourages viewer interaction. 4, quote, when rotated, blah, blah, blah. Radich, 2013, paragraph 3. Now, there are rules for what if you don't have what if there is no author's name? Then you would use the first 2 or 3 letters of the article title. In this case, it is what? With Jeep, see whatever you want to see. Use the first 2 or 3 words of the article title, put in quotation marks. But here there is an author's name, so that's not an issue. If there's no date, you use the abbreviation N period D period for no date. Okay? Most of you will probably be in this situation where you don't have these exceptions. A decent article probably will have an author's name and a date. Okay? But honestly, we're going to get into this more specific stuff next week. For now, go to projectapa.info, imitate one of the examples. Okay? Or go to the Jeep example, because you do have this Jeep outline. Oh, that's not it. It's here somewhere in my 10 million things that are open. Anyway, you saw it. Or actually, the Diet Coke example. You have the Jeep example and you have the Diet Coke example. Okay, so in the Diet Coke example, yes, imitate her structure. Oh, that's an error. I can't believe our models have errors. That should not be PG. That should be P. I'm going to yell at whoever put this. Do we do it throughout? Make that same mistake? Doesn't look like it. Okay, but anyway, yeah, so choose a method, okay? Study the Jeep. The Jeep example is solid. Study the Jeep example. Or go to projectapa.info. Same thing for references. For projectapa.info, go to references and choose the appropriate thing. Probably for a lot of you, it's going to be here, newspapers, magazines, and databases. Though YouTube will probably be under audiovisual media, maybe. No, it's probably under social media then. Blog post, Twitter, Facebook. Huh. They don't cover YouTube? That's a big one. Because the Rose and O video is a YouTube. Audio visual. Did I miss it under audio visual? Oh, here it is. YouTube. Okay. So you can imitate. Or if you find an online article, go here. Okay. So, for example, if you find something through Academic Search Complete, if you do find something through the library database, it will tell you, for example, Business Source Complete or Academic Search Complete. Okay. For right now, though, just, find the example and copy it. Okay. By the way, that's what APA is, finding the right example for what you need to do and following the same thing. Or go to the Jeep example. Again, the Jeep outline, which for some reason I'm not finding right now, though I do have it open somewhere. It has a full list of references. So copy those references, okay, and apply it to your own sources. Does this make sense to everyone? Again, I'm not looking for APA perfection, but yes, I want to see that your APA is kind of 85%, 90% heading in the right direction, and I won't worry so much about some of the very nitpicky things. For example, there are special capitalization rules for the references page. The title of your article, you need to capitalize just as you would a regular sentence. So in MLA, you would capitalize all these big words, not small words like for, but okay, but not in APA. APA kind of looks funny because it's lowercase, 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 lowercase. You do capitalize the first letter of something after a colon, but lowercase. And sometimes Jeep is capitalized because sometimes it's clearly the brand name, and sometimes it's referring to Jeeps in general. Okay, not the brand name. But these are the weeds we'll get into next week. Right now, do you feel confident that using projectapa.info or the examples, okay, the 2 sample outlines, that you can mostly follow APA? Again, that's my promise to you. I want to look at your outlines and say, yes, Bradley or Madison or Samuel or Sean, is definitely headed in the right direction. They are mostly following APA. Yes, some of the details are off, but week 3 is where we'll get into those specific details. Okay? Yeah, what I don't want to see is completely invented and made up rules. Okay, really, that's what we have to go over this session. Again, I try to keep these limited to an hour. Past an hour, I lose people. Actually, it looks like we did lose 2 or 3 people. I don't know how to make this more exciting. Okay, let's open things up to questions, comments, concerns about either this week's assignments, anything that we've gone over, or anything that applies to the class as a whole. Now is the time to ask away. If you are comfortable with what we've gone over, you understand what we're doing for the major assignment this week, you are allowed to go and enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you so much for attending, and we'll do it again next week. Remember, next week's going to be exciting. APA for an hour. Oh, man. Really, though, it will be incredibly useful, even though it may not sound sexy or exciting. Yeah, I will walk through every aspect of APA. Because for your essay draft, yeah, it's got to look like this. Okay, like there are rules for layout, paragraphing, spacing, the header, all that has to be pretty much perfect. So that's what next week's lecture is going to be devoted to. Okay, so if you don't have questions, you're free to go enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll hang out for a bit to see if there are questions. If there aren't, I will stop the recording in a few seconds. Okay. And finally, I get to take a sip from my coffee, which has gotten cold. Okay, it looks like questions are either... Oh, okay, Sean has a question, so I'll keep recording. So the AP style is needed in the project, and those same ones need to be listed on the research portion, correct? I'm a little bit unclear about some of your wordings there. Is needed in the project research portion. So we don't get too confused. Okay, so we're working on... This week we're working on an outline. You basically need to find 3 quotations for the 3 body paragraphs, okay? So the introduction section, Roman numeral 1, doesn't ask for quotations, but each of your body paragraphs does, okay? So it asks for a topic sentence. This is a Jeep essay, so my first major point is color. I make 1 point about the ad's use of color. I make a second main point about the ad's use of color, and then sentence incorporating a quotation in an APA format. And here's where I found, and actually, yeah, I went above and beyond. Okay, I found 2 different quotations and incorporated them. Okay, because that's for sentences incorporating research. So, in design, muted earth tones are, quote, usually reserved for backgrounds, and that's a direct quote. So here's my citation: Chapman, 2010, page 42. And while these colors may indeed be largely relegated to backdrop, quote, neutrals and browns are the epitome of nature, end quote. Because I'm quoting directly again, here's my citation: Cousins, 2012, paragraph 4, which perfectly suits the Jeep ad's purposes. Notice that Chapman and Cousins, you can find them on the references page. Okay. Oh, and your references should be in alphabetical order. So you can see Chapman comes from an article called Color Theory for Designers, Part 1. It's from a source called Smashing Magazine. The publication name or website name gets italicized. So the Cousins piece is called Color and Emotion, What Does Each Hue Mean? And it's from a website called Codrops. Okay, and so on. I don't know. Okay, Alfred says, okay, cool. So I answered your question, hopefully. Yeah, because what we're building toward in the finished product, of course, is, again, you're building these paragraphs one by one. Okay, so 5 Roman numerals for your 5 body paragraphs. If your 3 body paragraphs are completely established, so topic sentence, 1 main point, 2nd main point, relevant research, then you have, yeah, everything you need for your body paragraphs. So that in the finished product, each of your body paragraphs does the same thing. Okay. Topic sentence, some description and discussion of color in the ad. Here's that same research. Ends with a cincher line, tying everything together. Move on to the next paragraph. Topic sentence, description of the issue, quotation, research, and again, kind of that cincher stuff at the end. Really, the stronger effort you do on the outline, the more you're going to be in a solid position for the essay. Now, don't get me wrong, you can eventually add extra stuff. For example, the outline does not ask for any sort of quotation. Actually, it tells you not to do that. That doesn't mean that when you write your essay, you couldn't find a. Here, I just decided to use a quotation in my introduction because it's not really so much research. It's just, I think it's a nifty quote. Right? The Jeep, the well-known brand practically markets itself with its blah, blah, blah. Engineering and technology reporter Richard Truitt, 2016, proclaimed Jeep, quote, the most copied brand of American vehicles, end quote. I like that. Again, I don't really consider it so much like hard research or strong supporting research. It's just a nifty quote to reinforce the idea that Jeep really is a well-known brand. We all know we all know the name. We all know what image it brings to mind. So yeah, I like the idea of reminding people just how popular Jeep is. Okay, and then I riff on that idea for a little bit longer. So yeah, you can have a quotation in your introduction, even in your conclusion, but really where it needs to appear is in the body of your paper. And yeah, research is working primarily to support your thesis points. Okay, so if your three thesis points are A, B, and C, your research should be pretty relevant to those 3 points. Okay. I'm not sure I understand Bradley's comment. Work on them all the time, old ones? Or you talk about Jeeps. You work on Jeeps all the time, old ones. Oh, okay. Bradley, not to pick on you, but that's actually a good example of what I was talking about before. Remember when I wrote those sentences? In this ad, the guy is nervous. I said, what ad? What guy? I mean, there's a comment you made, but I had no idea what it meant because you understood what you were referring to, but I didn't. Again, I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just saying that that's a good example of what I'm talking about, like in writing or even just in general communication. And I do it too, by the way. I'm guilty of this, absolutely. We think that the ideas in our head are automatically understandable to another person, but not always. Uh, okay, so what? Oh, yeah, my wording for the Jeep ad. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of proud of the Jeep essay. Maybe you won't like it, but I like it. But we have another essay, the Diet Coke essay. So, um, and yeah, please use those examples. Every single assignment comes with fully completed examples. So rely on those because let's say for some reason the information in the lecture isn't hitting home or it's still not getting through. Sometimes it clicks when people look at the examples. I've had people who for the first couple weeks their worksheet, their outline is kind of okay, but it's not, it could be stronger. But once they see the examples, the full Jeep essay or the full Diet Coke essay, then things click. Then they understand, okay, I understand what this ad analysis thing is. So yeah, always take advantage of the samples. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. I'm going to stop the recording now. So thanks to the people who have been watching at home. Adios.